Hello and a very warm welcome to Gaming News Weekly every Friday at 5 p.m. with your host, me, I'm Rich, and my brother from another mother, eloquent as he may be, Tabs, say hello.
Hello, I think. Thanks for the introduction there, Rich.
A few juicy bits, including tonight's State of Play. We filmed this on a Thursday, so it's interesting to get into that. Left us a little bit flat, but we'll get into that shortly. But we'll start this week, as we do every week, by talking about what I've been playing. So, Tabs, what have you been playing this week?
It's a mixed bag, isn't it, really? There's lots to talk about for once. So, I suppose there's watching you play a bit of Horizon. There is playing a little bit of the new Mario game with my other half. What else? Oh, of course, Valheim. We can't forget that. Friend of the channel, Andy, has embarked on a quest on Valheim. So it's the three of us, living up our Viking fantasies. And I think that's probably been the most interesting game and experience we've had. It feels like there's a lot of depth there. I think for those that don't know anything about it, what would you say, Rich? Think Minecraft crossed with Ark survival. It's like a survival game elements to it. And Vikings essentially. Yeah. But it's for those that are thinking about taking the leap, I would say just be prepared for a fairly hefty time sink, and you need some friends. Realistically, I can imagine doing this solo, Rich, would be an uphill struggle to say the least.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the difficulty does scale with multiple players, so if you do it on your own, it is going to be slightly easier than doing it with multiple people. But yeah, I feel like it's sort of a world that you want to enjoy with other people, like discover things together. So yeah, I sort of agree, really. I think it's better with multiple people, I would say, in our experience anyway.
Yeah, but fascinating nonetheless. It'll be great to see how it evolves, because I think it's kind of early access at the moment. But it feels like there's so much potential and opportunity, and I think it's going to be a kind of a big popular game for a long time. But Rich, what about you, my friend?
Yeah, so as you've mentioned, bit of Valheim. I've been enjoying that. It is very grindy, and I'm sort of enjoying that. But it's up and down. So yeah, there's that. I've also, like as Tabs alluded to, I've also been playing Horizon. Been getting into that. I think this week I started playing it. Did I start playing it Sunday last week? I don't know, but I'm like 10 hours in already. I don't know how I've smashed 10 hours into it, but yeah, really enjoying it. Actually, I think it's going to be a game I'm gonna stick through. I really like the world. I like the very, very brief story that I've got into so far. I like to see where that goes. So yeah, I feel like I'm going to put a lot of time into it. So yeah.
Is it going to topple Breath of the Wild, mate? That's the question on my lips.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. That's my gut feeling right now. Is I don't think so. Breath of the Wild's definitely on the pedestal still, but I think this will be up there. I feel like this will be up there with, God of War for me and those experiences. I just hope that the story can live up to what it did in God of War. I suppose my one thing that I find a little bit odd's maybe the wrong word, but the way they go about some of the story beats, it's very boring's the wrong word, but it's comes across in a way that's not that entertaining. Whereas in the likes of, say, God of War, great story, they had these little ways of putting information to you without it becoming oppressive on your gameplay.
Weaving it in.
Yeah. For instance, the head that you carried around, when you were boating around, he'd be telling you stories that he would be fatting out the world a bit. So there's interesting things in there. I think hopefully there's some things that they can improve on for the next game, but yeah, I'm really enjoying playing that.
Spot on, mate. Well, let's crack on into tonight's topic. So what have you got for us first
Absolutely.
of all?
So we're going to start with Cyberpunk patch delayed, unfortunately. So anyone waiting for this to come out, it's going to be delayed. Not a long delay by the looks of it, but let's get into it. And this story comes from PC Gamer. CD Projekt Red has decided to delay the release of Cyberpunk 2077's upcoming patch 1.2. The studio cited the recent hacking as the culprit, which saw source code for multiple games and sensitive company document stolen, as well as the company's servers being hit with an encryption attack. CD Projekt Red says the recent cyber attack on the studio's ICT infrastructure and extensive scope of the update means it unfortunately will not happen. We'll need some additional time. The patch was originally scheduled for release this month, that's February, but CD Projekt Red says it goes beyond any of our previous updates, and that the scope of patch 1.2 means it now won't arrive until the second half of March, so looking like back end of March. Interesting one. I feel like it's all too convenient to blame this hack for the delay. I'm no doubt it will have had a significant impact on this, but it is all too convenient to blame it on that outside influence, which, that if they are struggling to deal with this patch. I'm sure there's a lot coming down in this patch, and there is a lot to do in Cyberpunk, as we've discussed at length on this channel. I would say mixed feeling here. It's disappointment, but hopefully the additional time that they're going to take means it could be right, maybe. What's your thoughts, Tabs?
Yeah, I mean, they can't catch a break, can they?
Yeah.
I feel very sorry for, again, first and foremost, the developers, because this is just rubbing salt in the wound at this stage. I mean, I would say from some of the reports I've seen, just to balance out your take there, Rich, I think there is some credence to this actually having a marked impact on the update, because apparently for the last 2 weeks, some of their employees have been locked out of their workstations because the extent of the hack has caused actual security issues with, them logging on with their accounts internally. I think some of them have even been told, that their personal information may have been hacked, so they should, report to their relevant institutions, banks, whatever, to try and protect their personal data. So it does sound like that they're not just using it as an excuse, but at the same time, they're repeating a mistake, aren't they? They obviously should have delayed the game before they released it, instead of just releasing it in the shape it's in. And in fact, what should you learn from that? Well, we're going to patch it, we're going to fix it, but give yourself more than enough time in this COVID environment to do that, to make sure you don't look silly again, and have, be red-faced with another delay like this. So,
absolutely. I mean, a very cynical viewpoint from me, absolutely, Tabs, and you're right to rebuff that with the other side of the coin. It's very cynical to say that, it's very convenient. I'm sure this has had real-world implications on their business infrastructure. So it's a very cynical viewpoint, my viewpoint there. The big problem I've got with further delays on this, not only is the fact that, obviously, as you mentioned, it's the mistake they've already made, but it says that the game was even further away from being finished than we ever realised. We're now, if this patch releases, and say this patch has been delayed by a month, well, the game came out in, November? And we're going to be well into March by the time the patch comes, and we don't even know whether the patch is going to present a game that works properly. One of our friends has Cyberpunk on the PS5, and it still doesn't work properly. He's having some extensive glitches, which is meaning he's having to continually reload saves for glitches, which is obviously a major problem. So, yeah, I think it's one of them. At this point, they're circling the drain with this game a little bit. It just needs to be right.
They miss out, don't they? And all the hype, all the build-up, all the anticipation. I think that's going to have almost died a death by the time they get it sorted. Again, it just feels like something they should just say, listen, let's take another 6 months or a year to absolutely nail this down, and let's have a relaunch of Cyberpunk 2077 rather than incremental patches, which, we've not really seen deliver all too much up to this point. I know this is a Goliath patch in comparison. Maybe it will fix more than we think, but yeah, at this point, I do feel dreadfully sorry for them, and I just look forward to a day when perhaps we can look upon Cyberpunk 2077 as something resembling a full and finished product.
Absolutely.
But Rich, shall I move us on?
Absolutely, go for it, mate.
So we've got Anthem next canned. So this comes courtesy of GameSpot. So plans to revitalise Anthem with a large update have been scrapped following an internal review. In a statement explaining the decision, BioWare Austin studio head Christian Daly, its concepts for Anthem Next were changed at least in part by the coronavirus pandemic, which has had an impact on studio productivity. He said, "I know this will be disappointing to the community of Anthem players who have been excited to see the improvements we've been working on. It's also disappointing for the team who are doing brilliant work. And for me personally, Anthem is what brought me to BioWare. And the last 2 years have been some of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of my career." So yeah, I mean, we know Anthem's had a checkered history. It kind of seemed to follow in the coattails of the Destiny formula, which hit some success, but just didn't live up to the expectation along the lines of Cyberpunk as well that it tried to set with gamers. They've talked, at large about making amends on the project, which looked hopeful at one point, but presumably, Rich, what behind the scenes they've looked at the investment they're putting into this, the potential reward they're getting out the back end of it, weighing that up with other products, projects that they're working on, and it seems like they've just, kicked the bucket for now. Which I don't know. What do you think, mate? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
I think there's actually, you had an interesting point there. There's an interesting simile between Cyberpunk and this, because if you remember, they showed us an E3 trailer of Anthem, I believe, that looked incredible, and then the game was nothing like it whatsoever. And it's been pretty broken ever since, from what I've heard, which is one of the reasons why they decided to remake from ground up. So I think it's one of them. This just sounds like just a classic business decision. They've gone, this game is not progressing as far, further forward as we think it is. It's going to take another X amount of time to do it, costing X, and actually we probably won't get that money back, from the sales based on the fact that it's then going to be a fairly old game, isn't it? So I feel like this is like bit the dust because of COVID, and maybe a timeline basis, and it's a shame really, because it offered that it could be very, very good, but I just think it delivered little really from what I've seen. I've not played the game,
it's a shame for fans, but I think it's, you got to think about the kind of the projection of the company, haven't you, on this? If you're a BioWare fan, you want to see, more games, then it's a good thing, isn't it? Because they've obviously made a business decision to focus on new properties, rather than be held back potentially by, a project which has just not worked out for them. So, cut their losses, move on. Let's try and look at it that way. Probably the best way to go with it.
Absolutely. Right, shall I move us on, Tabs?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to finish up, aren't we, covering tonight's PlayStation Direct, because BArcadians, we've actually watched it and are filming afterwards. It's a late one for us, so if we're lacking in energy, that will explain if there's bags under our eyes. But do you want me, Rich, just to rattle off the games we saw, and then you can kind of give us an overview of your highlights? Yeah,
go for it, because in my notes here, it just says PlayStation State of Play. That's it, mate.
Yeah, we did this one on the fly, and I have to say, thanks to my other half for making notes as I watched the Direct. So here we go. We've got Crash Bandicoot 4, where there was a PS5 upgrade announced, essentially. We saw another trailer, a bit more in depth, a bit more gameplay of Returnal, which looked very much like a 3D version of Hades to me, as I commented to you, Rich. We saw Knockout City for the PS4, which we saw a trailer recently for the Switch. And what did we say, Rich? Did we get some kind of Splatoon dodgeball vibes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to be fair, with that one, we did feel like the gameplay trailer and what they discussed on the State of Play made it seem there was some depth in there, wasn't there? Some combat and gameplay depth that maybe we overlooked on the Nintendo conference. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it felt like a generic sort of cash-in multiplayer game, didn't it? But in this State of Play, they did flesh it out, and it actually looked like it could be quite fun, could be quite engaging, have its own style. So then we saw Sifu announce the PS5, which I know you drew some puzzled looks over, Rich, from the sounds of it, but it kind of looks like it's going for those, cinematic martial arts scenes we see in movies. And it's kind of making a game around that almost. I
got the impression that every time you die, you age.
Yeah, he grew a beard, didn't he, at one point?
Yeah, and then there was clips later on through the trailer that they showed where you were playing as a really old man. So I thought that was interesting, and how that mechanic's going to work and stuff. Yeah, my biggest problem was I didn't understand the premise of the game. You just start in a corridor beating people up.
Yeah, it was a bit abstract. Drew you in.
Is there a story? Is it like a beat 'em up? That's the thing that I was puzzled about.
Maybe early trailer, we'll have more to come. Fingers crossed. But I mean, the combat looked cool.
Yeah, did agree. Yeah, definitely.
Then we've got Solar Ash. I think this comes by the creatives behind. Is it Hyper Light Drifter?
Yeah.
And yeah, what did you make of that, Rich? We kind of said it was a combination of a few different types of games, didn't we? Like Death Stranding, almost. What else have we got in there? What was that game that launched on the PS5? I still can't remember what it was called.
Oh yeah, I can't. It's the one where you use a bow to like move across. I couldn't remember what it was. I should have looked it up before we started. But yeah, there was a bit of Mirror's Edge to it as well. You know the Mirror's Edge like free running. There was a bit of that. Like,
that movement.
Aspect. Interesting looking game. I think that could be interesting. I don't know. I feel like that's one where you need to see, right, what do the reviews say? It's not one that instantly goes, oh, that's going to be amazing. So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait to see what we think on that.
Five Nights at Freddy's was next. Security Breach. We'll move on from that. I'm not particularly interested in that one. Then we've got Oddworld Soulstorm. Now, Rich, tell us. I know you were very taken by this.
Yeah, I like this. For a few reasons, the platforming, and one of the things I really enjoyed about, and I said to you, I played some of the, I think PS2 versions of the game, and I enjoyed them. But the puzzling aspect of it, that's one of the things that really interests me, especially it seems like they've added more puzzle elements to this, how to get past enemies. There's now multiple odds.
Obstacles.
Yeah, and there's like characters that you can utilize to pass multiple things. So yeah, I'm interested in this one. If this gets reviewed well, I think this will be a purchase for me.
Yeah, I just thought Oddworld Lemmings, that's what came to mind. Am I right in thinking there, mate? Did they say it's coming to the PlayStation Plus at some point, the membership?
No, what were they saying? They were saying something. I can't remember exactly what they were saying. I don't think they were saying it was going to be free, I don't think.
Oh, okay, so maybe there's an upgrade that you can get.
Yeah, I think that's what they were saying, something like that.
Fine.
Yeah, I can't think exactly what they were saying now, but yeah.
And then we got Kena Bridge of Spirits. So that was one I think we were both excited about.
Yeah, really excited for.
It looks very much, I thought at one point like it could be open world, but I'm pretty convinced it's a linear kind of adventure game now, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. But it still looks like the animation work. It's like a Pixar effect to the graphics, which is really engaging. And it looks like there's a decent story there. So I'm still really excited. Did you say combat looks rough, Rich?
I thought the combat looked really interesting. Like there was some real depth in there. Like it could be quite a tricky combat scheme. It seemed like you had to time stuff. Seemed like there was areas of enemies where you had to target them to do good damage. Some big battles, like boss type battles, looked there, and I really like the look of the combat on this. And like you say, the world looks beautiful, really, really beautiful. And I like that. There seemed to be some suggestion that you'll go to areas that you almost have to cleanse from something. So you take it from this like dank, horrible, like run-down world, and it becomes like, lovely again with grass and vegetation. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think this looks fantastic.
I think that was one of the ones where it could have easily not lived up to its potential, but on the evidence of this trailer, it feels like it's still looking great. Could really deliver as a great game. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
And then coming to the end, so we've got Deathloop, which Rich and we both got some major Bond vibes from. I'm sure that they were going for that with the some of the styling. But I have to say, the gameplay, I know it's not your bag, Rich, being the first person shooter, but it does look compelling. It looks fun. It looks dynamic. And you've heard a lot, have you, about some excitement just across the industry on this?
Yeah, I think people are really, really excited for this. I think there's excitement by the fact that the people making this make really good games for starters, but also it's a cool premise for an idea. And I mean, look how polished it looks already. I mean, it's not out for a while yet, and it's looking incredible already. So yeah, I think there's a lot of buzz around this game. I think this game could be very, very good. Obviously, I won't be playing it, but I think it looks really good.
Yeah, and potentially the last Arcane Bethesda IP for the PlayStation console as well, at least for a while, with the acquisition. So we'll make the most of it. And then sadly, that was all we saw apart from Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade, I think it was called.
It was.
So essentially, it's getting a PS5 upgrade treatment to the graphics, along with like an extra episode, almost like a DLC pack with another playable character in. I mean, don't get me wrong, looks stunning. I skipped 7 Remake. Maybe this will be a reason to revisit it in a quiet moment. But, tell us what you think, Rich, and then we'll start mourning the loss of Horizon and God of War.
Yeah, so the new episode is going to be available for PS4 and PS5. If you have this on the PS4 and you buy a PS5, you can get the PS5 buff for free of charge, but the episode you will have to pay for. Looks cool. Cool as a new character. I hope it won't be a full price for the add-on. That seems like that would be a little bit harsh for anyone who's already got the game. It looks cool. Like Tab says, it looks really cool. Again, something I missed out on when it came out last year. So yeah, cool. And I think the graphics and lighting that they've done to change seems like it's a good standard, good buff. So yeah, it's cool.
But then, sadly, it came to an end. I was really hoping for a 5-second God of War, brief glimpse of Kratos in his next-gen glory, but we just didn't get it. So, I'm grateful for it. It was a shorter, quite impactful. Again, I like the way they paced it, Rich, especially compared with other sort of these direct-style things we see. And I would say there was no real filler in there. It all looked pretty killer for the most part. But yeah, I mean, certainly disappointing to see none of the really big marquee games that we were expecting in 2021, which I would say, my friend, adds fuel to the fire of what you said in the past, that you think, well, God of War likely could be pushed to 2022. Yeah. We've seen GT7 is now, and even Horizon, do you think that could get pushed?
I think there's a good chance either that or it'll be a holiday release. That's a possibility. Just going back onto what you were saying, it's really interesting the way that they pace these things. So Nintendo do a sort of a disjointed format, like trailer, someone talks, and there's another trailer, whereas PlayStation and Sony seem to just have a continuous almost feed of gameplay, and then someone just talks over the gameplay that's playing, which makes it a little bit more engaging, certainly for my personal preference. But yeah, I was disappointed not to see them. Wasn't disappointed not to see anything about Gran Turismo 7 as well, to be honest. I was hoping we might see something. I mean, we've seen in the past they've dropped little trailers and little demos of Gran Turismo games that are coming out, so it would have been nice to see that, especially given the fact we've now got to wait till next year for this game. So yeah, it left me feeling a little bit flat, and I said to you, I think that's probably a 7 for me. I think you were more critical than that, though, weren't you?
Maybe a 5 or 6. I don't know. The Direct had more excitement to it. It had actual new reveals, where for the most part, these were all games we were aware of. Yeah. New trailers for some, no doubt. But there wasn't anything marquee, exciting, groundbreaking, which God of War or Horizon could have delivered. So in that respect, I mean, Jim Ryan, I'm pretty sure on Twitter, he kind of bigged this up as was it Herman Hulst, maybe? Bigged this up as this is a gift to everybody suffering in lockdown. So I suppose in that respect, it was a gesture. Let's keep feeding that excitement. So perhaps to expect any big, gameplay deep dives was a bit ambitious. So I'm fine with it, I'm fine. I'm happy. It's nice to just touch base with these games, but it could have been better. I don't think we can deny that.
Absolutely.
And PlayStation normally hit hard, don't they, with these things? They don't usually like to leave, anything to audience expectation. But, my friend, shall we rinse through everything else and finish off and go to bed?
Absolutely. Sounds good. So we're going to kick off everything else with Days Gone is coming to PC with all DLCs preloaded. It'll have unlocked frame rates and improved graphics. So that's cool. First of, from what they're saying, many PlayStation titles will be coming to PC.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding, of course, have already done that. So they're branching out. We've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 officially heading to Nintendo Switch, PS5 and Xbox Series X. I know a friend of the channel, Bob Rich, was, quite ecstatic about this, as he owns a Switch. So great news. I'll be interested to see how it runs on that. Frame rate-wise would be my concern.
Absolutely. And then finally this week, a new Silent Hill game is reportedly in the works from a prominent Japanese studio. A summer announcement is rumoured. I mean, these Silent Hill rumours just will not go away at the moment. It seems every week...
Chasing shadows every week.
But it does seem like every week there's a new rumour about it, so I don't know. But anyway, that comes...
One thing to crowbar in, my friend, was the Pokemon Direct, I think, has been announced for tomorrow.
Okay.
I feel like it might be 3 p.m. UK time. Or it might be 2 p.m, I forget. Anyway, have a look on the internet. But yeah, that could be, something else to kind of, kick the week off for us with some exciting new Pokemon reveals. I think very much the rumour is it Diamond and Pearl remakes are on everybody's lips? Which I'd be happy with. I really did like that game. If it was, remade in the engine that we saw on the one you've got, Rich. I forget what it's called now. It would look cool. But yes, my friend, bring us to a close.
So that's it for this week on Gaming News Weekly. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you have, definitely drop us a like. And if you'd like to get engaged with us, drop down in the comments and we'll discuss whatever you want. We'll discuss state of play. What do you think of it? Games you're excited for? Do you think Horizon's going to miss and drop into 2022? Let us know. And if you're new here and you've enjoyed what you've just seen, give us a subscribe and join us and become a BArcadian today. But I think that's all we've got time for this week. Another one for the archive.
Stamped and completed.